It's annoying and cringy.
He's bad, but he'll die. So I like it.
Traumatic childhood.
You needed those. You really did.
Which is proof means death for us all.
Up yours, children.
Why does mine look like that? And we never did.
Welcome to No Kids Three Money, a Simpsons podcast through the lens of time.
Into this camera.
It's your new favorite podcast about your old favorite show. I'm one half of your host, Ned. Here's my friend over here. Hello. Oh. Starting off strong this week.
Oh, that's a beep if I've ever heard it.
There isn't a slander on earth to explain.
Who are you, by the way?
I don't know anymore. Matt, I guess.
And our trusty producer over here.
Producer.
Nothing works.
Trusty being the operative word in that sentence.
Hey, come on, man. That's what my machines.
Yeah, so we tried for a whole new setup this week and it failed miserably.
Took it out the back, the way of old Yeller.
Yeah.
What's that fucking Family Guy thing that he's in? It's like he gets like a phone call or something.
Old Yeller.
So yeah, like somebody calls the house or something like that. Did you take the message? Oh yeah, he said something about like he missed a phone call from like a doctor or something like that.
Forgot to write it down.
Forgot to write it down. Did you save the message? I erased it. All right, out back. No, Ma. Yeller is my dog. I'll do it. He's pushing him around the back. He's like, come on, he'll call back.
Good.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to have to resort to the tried and true method of remembering moments from other shows that were better when it comes to the season 21 episode this week.
Yeah, we've regressed a little bit, unfortunately.
A little bit?
By that, I mean fuck tons.
I was fucking furious.
Amounts.
Beep. That's a beepable amount.
Say that's a beeping. Say the airport. Oh, you better believe that's a bleeping.
Do an accent. That's a beeping.
Shut up and be racist.
Stop. He's already racist.
Stop, he's already Ned. What do we have in store for the people this week, Matt?
We have Season 2, Episode 18, Season 11, Episode 8, and Season 21, Who the F*** Cares?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wish I could erase that from my memory, and I'm gonna.
It's already pretty much gone.
I'm going to give you a noggin a flogging. Well, yeah.
We've got the perfect thing to use with that. Keegan's laptop.
Come on, everybody. Hurry in. No time to wipe Ned's head. No time to wipe out the blood.
Keegan was left with the impound bill, which you could easily afford.
Make sure it's on like a 10-second
Shake
delay.
harder, boy.
Smack harder, boy. His head already is folded.
Sir, I'm afraid you've systematically alienated Springfield's entire art community. The only one left is this Mrs. Homer Simpson. Who? Well, she won first prize in the Springfield Art Fair, and as the wife of an employee, she'll be easily intimidated.
Excellent. Once again, the wheel has turned, and Dame Fortune has hugged Montgomery Burns to her sweet, perfumed bosom. Somebody up there likes me, Smithers.
Somebody down here likes you too, sir.
Shut up.
All right. You want to start us off with Season 2, Episode 18, you said? Yes.
Yes.
I don't remember that because of like, you know, we've made a point of like the next couple of episodes in Season 2 are going to be really fucking good. The next one, in fact, is Mitch's like favorite episode of all time. So
Groin-grabbingly good.
Groin-grabbingly transcendent? So we make a good team.
Groin-grabbingly good team. Yeah, this episode is titled Brush with Greatness.
At the end, you just write screw Keegan a bunch of times.
Synopsis reads, after finding some old paintings she did of Ringo Starr, Marge decides to take on art class at Springfield Community College. There, she becomes the top student and wins the college art show. Meanwhile, Mr. Burns needs a painting for the Burns wing of the Springfield Art Museum and asks Marge to point him. At first, she has trouble pointing, such an evil man, but then decides to point him naked and frail. Everyone, even Mr. Burns, praises Marge's pointing. Meanwhile, Homer decides to go on a diet after being stuck on a water slide during a family pointing.
Yeah, thanks for painting a nice picture there for us.
Pointing a nice picture.
I don't say painting.
I say a pointing.
My first note is trauma center on premises.
That was a great sign.
So this is like sort of the legendary Mount Splashmore episode, which I think is the first instance we've seen of the I'm not sure what to call it, but just like that.
The repetitive.
The repetitive questioning that Bart and Lisa do, which comes up a couple of other times. Also related to like water activities as well, because the next one I can remember is, can we get a pool dad? Can we get a pool dad? Tis a fine barn.
Oh, that's one of my favourite quotes of all time.
Best.
Tis a fine barn, but sure, tis no pool, English.
Doeth!
Maggie coming out to help with the buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first note is Mount Splashmore on repeat.
Yeah.
And they're just berating Homer. And like pretty much for an entire day, it goes through several states of his working day and then ends in them laying in bed, Marge sound asleep with a smile on her face. The kid's still repeating, could we go to Mount Splashmore?
Which is hilarious that Marge is able to just completely block that out.
She's used to it.
Yeah. Just real Johnny behavior there. One of the dudes I work with, he just fucking does not respond to his name.
Right, okay.
Whatsoever. I think he's been just conditioned to not hear it. You actually got to walk into his face and be like, Johnny!
Johnny!
Hi! Johnny!
What do you have to call him that gets his attention? What does he hate being called?
I call him Jonald.
Jonald. Nice.
We've been calling him Don Burke lately because he's grown a beard.
And it's a beard.
Yeah. I mean, that one was proven, but still.
We've got one of the best subtitles of all time that pops up in the next scene that I want to explain to the viewers and listeners. The one. So the kids are all lining up to go on all the rides that are there, and Lisa turns on the waterworks to get to the front, pretending that she's like lost a parent somewhere. Mm-hmm. Kids go down, and then Homer also doesn't want to wait in line, and he says he's the slide inspector. And then some old lady that he pushes past says, God bless that man. And then he gets like let down the slide next, and he's going, and then eventually just gets stuck in one of the parts of the pipe. And it sort of flashes up on the people that are watching the pipe saying, it's too big to be human.
There's a block who's in section, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah. Just send a bunch of kids down to unblock it. They all get to him, and you just see their feet come through, essentially.
Squeaky Voice Teen that's at the top of the water slide, but
it.
isn't Squeaky Voice Teen. It's getting closer and closer to his like actual character model, but it's still not him as we know him today.
Yes. And it's not the only character in this episode that pops up that isn't meant to be the voice of that person.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that later. Fuck me. We both like fully paused and looked at it at that point.
And rewound.
Something wrong over there, bud?
No, I'm always just looking at stuff.
He just checks things.
I just check things.
Oh.
He's checking me. So anyway, after the kids get lodged in the slide with Homer, they then have to pull the part of the slide out that Homer's in, and as it rotates, you just hear boo. The subtitle is scattered booze.
Scattered booze. Great.
Oh.
I do want to backtrack just for a little second to bring up like the first scene and then the scene that you like mentioned before as well, where they're watching the ad for Mount Splashmore, and I can't remember what Krusty says that like makes them do it, but for some reason Bart and Lisa are sitting there watching it, and they like grab each other's hand kind of thing. Like, you know, it's a nice like little moment between them, whereas they're usually seen to be in conflict with one another.
Yeah.
And then obviously like the next scene after they berate Homer for the entire night is them trying to line up for that water slide, realizing there's a billion people there, and Bart turns to Lisa and asks her to start crying.
Yep.
it's, once again, like a nice little friendship moment, and also shown that they can like work together for a common cause. I did find it a little bit sociopathic though. Just in the sense that like two kids are capable of that kind of emotional manipulation straight away.
Yeah, it's maybe one of the first times it's displayed in the show as well, but they do use it to their advantage.
And that Lisa is obviously just quite happy to go along with it if it furthers, if it like gets her into a better place kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think she maybe kind of looks at it like she's not ever really going to get in trouble because Bart is like the ringleader.
Yeah, and I think in the Herb Powell episode, Herb mistakenly says to Lisa, "And are you the little hellraiser that I've been hearing about?"
That's right, yeah.
And Bart steps in, proud of it. Was there any other parts you wanted to
well, just the fact that Homer has a singlet tan when he's usually always seen wearing a shirt, that was strange to me.
And his singlet is see-through.
He's not wearing a singlet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he's not wearing a shirt.
Groin-grabbingly translucent.
Yeah, that was why I was looking at it. I thought the same thing at first as well. I was like, that's a really weird, like, coloured or shaped singlet that he's got on. And I was like, oh, he's not wearing one. It's a singlet tan. I was like, but he's never shown to be wearing a singlet. So how the fuck does he get one?
Boy, it really helped somebody got fired for that blunder.
I'll get the soundboards back at some point.
It is coming.
Eventually.
Soundboard, I'm coming. Soundboard, I'm coming. My next note has to do with the news report that comes up. So it's Christian that starts the news report on Homer getting stuck in the slide, and then it turns to Kent Brockman interviewing Krusty at the amusement park. And I think towards the end of the interview, Krusty's like wiping makeup off of his face. But in the episode where he fakes his own death and becomes Rory B. Bellows, when he jumps in the water at the end and starts swimming, the yellow comes off, and it is the sort of makeup tone that is his original skin color. Do you recall that?
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so that may be able to be explained by they could have still... character model wise, because you know how there was that whole thing of like Krusty and Homer were supposed to be the same person, and that Bart was supposed to like hate his father but idolize Krusty, and then eventually down the track they were going to reveal to Bart that it's like his hero was his father all along. Maybe they had, I don't know whether they had or hadn't made a conscious decision to like continue that storyline or go along with it, but maybe the character model still had remnants of that, because if Krusty was to be Homer, he would have makeup on under yellow, like over yellow skin, as opposed to the other way around.
I understand.
I think that's something they ditched after the first Sideshow Bob episode, though.
Right,
like the Homer being Krusty plot line.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like that is like a remnant of that sort of existing, maybe, because then they sort of retcon him having yellow
pale skin.
Like, they turn his skin pale.
His clown makeup is his real
that's his actual skin color.
Yes.
Yeah. It also parodied the Joker from one of the original Batman movies. So the Jack Nicholson Joker, when he's wiping the stuff off of his face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he's wearing like makeup to have
Cover
an actual skin color.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised?
You'd know if you watched movies.
Yeah, probably would. Hey,
You haven't seen it, have you?
No.
Have you seen The Dark Knight?
Yes.
Have you seen The Dark Knight Rises?
I've seen all those.
Okay. Well, that's good. You haven't seen the Rob Pattinson Batman, though?
No.
Of course.
Ned's seen at least 3 movies.
And that was all of them. Yeah. Have you seen Terminator 2?
I think so.
Bro.
Because I showed you the trailer for that new Terminator 2 game that's coming out on PS4 and PS5 last night, and you're like, oh yeah, that's sort of like...
2's the one with like the cop guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The T800.
Yeah, that one.
T1000, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Patrick.
I'm just one of those people that it's like if something doesn't interest me completely, it's gone from my memory kind of thing. I need to be 100% invested in something or it doesn't exist.
I getcha.
Yeah. I get it.
Let's get him.
Let's get him, fellas.
What's your next note?
It'd be skipping ahead a little bit, so maybe we need to give a little tiny bit of context. So Homer has been pried out of the water slide. All the news reports have come across, and pretty much every single one of them is saying that he was just a fat piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he turns to the family and he says, like, am I fat? And they're all sort of sitting there in silence. And he's like, well, why aren't you saying anything? And Lisa pipes up and says, Dad, it's, you need to give us time to it's hard. You need the appropriate time to sugarcoat a response. So he realizes they all think he's fat, goes and takes Bart up to the attic to try and find his weights and athletic gear and stuff like that. That's when he finds all the Ringo Starr portraits and takes him down and asks Marge, what the fuck?
Yep.
And she says that, she was just in love with him in high school, and explains to Lisa that she gave up painting after her high school art teacher was a cunt to her, and then she never got a reply from Ringo Starr. I'm allowed to say that.
Not anymore.
No, actually, if we're going to go by, how long does that say? If it's over 10 minutes, I'm allowed.
Definitely more than 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. It's within the first 10 minutes on YouTube. You're not allowed to swear. But also we're Australian. Yeah. They probably think we're saying cat. Exactly.
Can't.
All those Boardmans out there.
Oh, yeah. We are looking at you, Boardman. Again.
McVeigh? Anyone?
So Lisa sort of convinces her through that to go back to some form of community college class and take up painting again. And she goes to this class with, what was the dude's name? Professor Lombardo or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Lombardo at the place I work at.
Oh, okay. That guy.
Agreed.
Good on him. Who was voiced by John Lovitz. Fuck, we had a lot of celebrity guest stars in the. Wait, do we have any in the? I don't give a fuck about season 20. Did we have in the season 21 episode?
Pretty much the whole plot was based around the.
Oh
guest
yeah,
star.
that's right. Yeah.
Isn't that the only hook for these season 21, 20 episodes? Is that there's a guest star in basically every single episode?
The family was barely in this one. It made no fucking sense. Anyway, let's not get bogged down in that shit yet. Let's talk about a good episode. The point that I'm trying to fucking get to is she goes through a little bit of a montage of being in the class and painting a couple of things. And she paints his portrait of Homer, which she takes in. And the teacher loves it. He's obviously a very positive guy kind of thing. And there's this nice rule of threes joke that he has with the handyman that's around the college. Mm-hmm. When he first gets introduced to Marge, he says, I got to go to the bathroom. And he walks to the bathroom, and then it pans to this dude painting the bottom rail of a staircase, and he's just marvelous.
Yep.
Anyway, pulls Marge out of class and says he needs one of the paintings from the class to be displayed in an exhibit next weekend or something at the local art gallery, and he's selected Marge's. And he says, she's done a wonderful job and all that kind of thing, and then she says, oh, it's only because you're such a wonderful teacher and you treat me with respect and stuff like that. And he freaks out and says, Marge, please, I don't take praise very well. Just walks off. And he walks past the janitor again, who's painting notices on a fucking board or something like that. And he's just magnificent. It's just I don't get what the fuck's going on here, but it's funny. He's just absolutely amazed at anybody doing any form of painting, no matter what it is.
Maybe the paradox between him not liking praise but being able to give it.
I don't know. I think it's maybe just sort of an overcorrection for the little montage that we're shown of Marge's high school art teacher is he fucking hates everything for no reason. So the natural opposite to that would be some guy that loves everything for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
I think as well, it's a bit of a juxtaposition. Maybe it's just from my field of view, because I've had a lot of art teachers, going to university and in high school and shit. I did every fucking art subject I possibly could. And there was literally split down the middle, exactly those two type of teachers.
Yeah, okay.
People that were super overcritical about everything that you did, or people that just slobbed your knob for everything that you did.
Bit of a slop top.
Yeah, I think
it's
it's
weird.
It's probably coming from a writer's personal experience.
But
I imagine.
But in your personal experience, who do you learn more from?
The people that's
critics.
Yeah, the critic. But also getting glazed every now and then's It's nice.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But it gives you a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Or a false sense of it, like it inflates your self.
If you feel like you've earned that praise, because you know when you've done good work and bad work, if you get praise for the good work, you're going to be thankful and going to want to do it more. Whereas if you just critiqued on everything, even your good work, it's like, well, why the fuck am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would view it anyway.
No,
But you don't learn anything that way. You don't learn anything from just getting told that you're great at everything.
Oh yeah, that's it. You can't grow.
No.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Wonderful.
I feel like it's probably used this soundboard at some point in time, but nothing's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Could somebody make a racist remark?
Beep.
I mean, I wanted to, I just couldn't do it.
I'm so glad the camera was filming you then. She was like, you trying to suppress the racism.
It's not ready to come out just yet. My note is about the guest star for this episode being Ringo Starr. This was the first appearance of a Beatle, but they did get every living Beatle on the show at some point in time. So they got...
or relatively within the early seasons too.
Yeah, it's up until season 7, which is Paul McCartney and Lisa the Vegetarian.
Yeah.
And George Harrison in...
The B-Sharps episode.
The B-Sharps episode. And then I think they all come back as... Remember they were there was a yellow submarine part in one of the episodes as well, and then Flanders really loves the Beatles.
Bart breaks into Flanders' basement, which is full of Beatles memorabilia.
Yeah, yeah. So they do feature a fair bit, which is fair enough, being bigger than Jesus. So when Ringo arrived to record and saw the part was longer than he originally thought it was, because all he wanted to do was a few lines, he told the staff, "You've written me a bloody novel." The staff was so excited that they got Ringo Starr coming in to do the show, and they recorded him over at the complex in Western LA. They were given a list of rules about what they couldn't do to Ringo, such as don't touch him, don't approach him, and don't ask for his autograph. But of course, when he shows up in the big limo, one of the producers brings out a poster and asks him to sign it. One of the other producers explained that he had not received the memo with the rules, so he showed up with a copy of the script cover and asked Starr to sign it. So he was that famous that you can't even do anything with him except just listen and record.
Right.
Do not interrupt.
Well, it's one of those things, man. It's they were one of the first real superstars kind of thing. The Beatles had to stop touring for a couple of years because audio technology didn't exist that was powerful enough to get over the noise that their crowds were making.
Fuck.
That's how crazy. Fucking they shut down when the Beatles came to your country, they shut down whatever fucking city they were in.
It no longer exists.
Literally, Bigger Than Jesus was it was a joke, but it was nearly also true as well. So it does make sense kind of thing, but at the same point in time, it's bit of a cunt move.
By the Beatles.
By that guy especially. It's come on, man. You're the least popular member of the Beatles.
Was he the bass player?
He was the drummer.
The drummer. And he's notorious for just being astoundingly average.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Because I think he's the second drummer. Of they had an original drummer. They were somebody can absolutely correct me if I'm wrong. But they had an original drummer that left, was just oh, this band's going to go nowhere. And then Ringo Starr joins the band, and they...
It's like the guy that gave all his Bitcoin up for 2 pizzas.
It was 15,000 Bitcoin.
It was something absurd.
For 2 pizzas.
Yeah. This was when Bitcoin just started.
It was when it was worth nothing.
What the fuck?
Worth a cent.
So he'd be a billion or a trillionaire.
A trillionaire.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You'd have to jump off a cliff.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much immediately.
Or there was a third dude who had a bunch of Apple stock. He sold it in the 80s or something, the late 80s or early 90s for 10 grand, 12 grand or something. I think those shares be worth $80 billion today or something.
Let's just say I'm sitting in the right chair.
But anyway, back to The Simpsons.
My next note is fucking incredible.
I'm sure I have a vague idea of what it is anyway, but once again, context. So Marge gets her painting displayed and like wins the like prize at the art show. And then it cuts to this scene in Burns' office where he's chewing out this fucking random artist for not capturing his essence perfectly. And the guy essentially tells him to get fucked and leaves. He then turns to Smithers and says, we need to find somebody to paint me because the, what was it? There's like a wing in that art gallery that's being opened dedicated to him. So he wants a self-portrait of himself.
Yeah.
And Smithers says to him, oh, you've alienated every single like local artist except for this Mrs. Homer Simpson. And he
says who?
Which he says,
another recurring joke.
I can't remember exactly what the line is leading up to this, but Smithers explains he's the wife of an employee, so she'll be easily intimidated.
Mm-hmm. And
then the next line is,
yeah, Burnsy says something, and then somebody up there likes me, Smithers.
Pans out the window.
Somebody down here likes you too, sir.
Shut up. So already getting sick of his gay advances and like blatantly aware of it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I actually started to notice is a bit of a difference. It's one of those things that they like take a step back on kind of thing. Like he still does make those comments later on in the like seasons, but Burns becomes a little bit more like oblivious to them as opposed. Yes. Or even if he does still understand, it's like he just sort of plays dumb and acts like he doesn't, as opposed to he's just flat out being like, stop being, that way towards me in these earlier seasons.
Yeah.
He's like angered by it.
Yeah. The line that I was going to say was the sarcastic man reincarnated.
Oh, is that the next scene?
It was between like my Ringo Starr note and what you just said about Burnsy.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, he's saying something. I can't remember exactly what, but it was the sarcastic man voice, but just some random black guy.
I don't recall that at all. Because I thought you were making a joke as to what happens next, which is a black guy having another person's fucking voice.
That's in the...
No, that's in this episode. Because we both looked at each other and paused and were like, why the fuck is that happening right now?
Right, okay.
But I don't remember if it's exactly the next scene or not, and I can't remember who even says something to him because I was just so fucking confused by what happened. But somebody says something to Carl, and Carl then turns around and replies in Lenny's voice.
Yeah. Yeah, donut delivery gone horribly wrong.
Which...
Carl equals Lenny.
I'm sure we've heard Carl speak.
Yeah, we have.
So, like, this just, like, falls back into the whole, like, they produce things, obviously, like, they produce things sort of maybe linearly, but they release them differently as to how they produce them. So, obviously, this was done before they completely decided on Carl's voice, but still just a fucking strange either choice or massive fucking editing error.
Yeah, it would have definitely been the latter. Like, they would have given whoever the animation for it and said, all right, draw Lenny for this scene, but they drew Carl instead. But they were like, fuck it, let's just use Lenny's voice anyway.
See if anyone notices.
Yeah. And then that's when the donut delivery guy and Carl have that interaction.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Because Homer's obviously been on like the diet kind of thing, so he's not eating donuts.
Yeah. And then the donut delivery guy's like, oh no, I'm no longer going to be able to afford
putting my kids through college.
Yeah. Which is another joke that comes up a few times.
Yes, from food vendors.
Yeah.
The hot dog guy. Do you just
Rocks
follow
up the
my husband
funeral.
around all day? Lady, he's putting my kids through college.
Which is also the sarcastic man voice.
Is it?
To an extent, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like a happier version of him.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only like a couple of other quotes that I have for this episode.
Well, it's kind of, I don't know. There's like, not that it wasn't funny, but these season 2 episodes, like, they tend to like front load them with like jokes. As opposed to like, you look at the way that season 11 episodes pace kind of thing, and it's just sort of like constant drip fed humor while giving you the story. Whereas these ones are more like, here's like the comedic piece up the top where there's like all these zany things that are happening that push us into the plot. Then we get into it, and then there's like this sort of middle or late to middle section where the plot is explained and resolved, and then we maybe get a couple of other like jokes sprinkled in at the end to remind you that it's a comedy. Because yeah, there's a couple of just sort of scenes showing how Burns is a fucking pain in the ass, essentially. Because like they were funny, but they weren't jokes. It was just him being a fucking dick to Smithers. Or there is that one scene where he brings him the tea, which I've got written down. He brings him his tea, and he's like yelling at him from the other room, and Marge says something like, how do you let him treat you like that? And Smithers says something like, oh, he's my best friend.
Yeah.
It doesn't really give an explanation for it. Just says, oh, he's my best friend and I love spending every moment I can with him. Walks into the room and fucking Burns just throws the tea all over the front of him and goes, oh, it's too hot. Smithers is like, I know, sir. It's scalding me as we speak.
Yeah,
And he's like,
really good line. The only other thing that I noticed that was sort of, as you were discussing before, they're released like linear, but might be put out later.
they produce linear but release them sort of how they want.
Sporadically.
Yeah.
There was like a frame going from, I think, the nuclear plant to the Simpsons home.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a sign in the air essentially that said, meanwhile in Springfield, and then it panned down and it was a Simpsons house, but everything was drawn just so terrible.
It was fucking horrendous.
It was clearly like one frame that they'd zoomed out on just to be able to pan down instead of writing two separate like cells, animation cells for it essentially.
It was very like,
probably the jankiest frame I've seen.
yeah, including like all of season 1 and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it was very, like, I don't know who the fuck they let draw that one. But it was once again one of those things that you've sort of explained before of like they get to a point, or they were at a point at that point in time where they didn't have the time to then send it back and then get it back to make that correct. They just go, oh, well, it's 3 seconds of a fucked up, janky looking drawing of the house. We'll just put it in there.
Yeah.
And also, like, editing mistakes like that don't pop up until the episode's actually fully stitched together, and then it's like, by that point, it's like potentially months.
And
to
you-
send
yeah.
something off and be like, I'll redraw this, and it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can't do it.
Too late.
Yeah,
Not possible.
Ringo Starr then gets shown basically looking through all of his fan mail that he's ever received and says to his assistant or whatever, I don't care if it takes me 20 years, I'm going to respond to everyone. And that's when he finds Marge's letter from fucking however long ago it was, 20 years, I assume.
Yeah.
And then he says, what does he say? He goes and meets her in real life, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. He sends her a letter back.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of encourages her to paint Burnsy, because she says she can't find any sort of redeeming elements of him, like no human qualities, essentially.
The reason that she was like hired by him is because she was able to find the inner beauty in a lot of things, but she's struggling to find it within him because he doesn't have any. Then she gets that letter from Ringo Starr, which sort of, reinvigorates her to attempt it again.
Yeah.
Which she does, but comes at it from a completely different angle.
Yeah. She shows his fragile side and his frailty by drawing him in the nude.
Yeah.
Which Burnsy tries to unveil by pulling the rope and the curtain, but doesn't have the strength
physically
to do it.
unable, which he's also shown, like, he tries to, like, fucking lift up the door knocker on the Simpsons door when he gets there, and he's like, yeah, and he lets it go, and it's just like a
Don't people know to answer their doors?
it's screaming. It's like Smithers just walks up and just starts beating on the door with both hands.
Oh, I love how like petty Smithers is for Burns.
Yeah,
He'll just do whatever, whenever.
at the drop of a hat.
Yeah. So after the painting of Burnsy's unveiled, he's like sort of what would you
He's
say?
shocked because he didn't expect it, and then he's about to be pissed off until Marge steps up and explains why she did it in the way that she did it, which was, he has this like evil exterior, but if I painted him, like naked and he's vulnerable, it sort of shows that he is just like the rest of us kind of thing, and like, for lack of a better explanation, makes you pity him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that would be the only way that he could have a redeeming quality in her eyes.
You could snap him in half whenever
It's a
you wanted.
real fucked up way of saying he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
but it works.
Like, she didn't lose sight of that at all. She still said before explaining why she painted it like that, why she hates him,
Yes.
which was good. She stood the moral high ground.
Which Marge is known to do.
Yeah, exactly. And to get one really good quote from Miss Hoover. Go ahead.
Which is fucking great. It sort of encapsulates my whole, like, it's funny at the start, then there's plot, then there's just a couple of jokes at the end. I think Hibbert says something about it. I can't remember exactly what he says, but then yeah, Miss Hoover walks up next to him and goes, "He's bad, but he'll die, so I like it."
Yeah, super grim. They've done well with dark jokes in the first 2 seasons.
Yes,
as we've shown.
and the ending, in my opinion, was also perfect as well, because then it cuts back to Homer and Marge, and Burns walks up to him and is like, you know, pleasantly surprised by everybody's response to it and says like, "Oh, Marge, you did a great job, and I'm so like glad that you know, didn't what the fuck does I can't remember exactly what he says, but he says like, you didn't try and embarrass me with the way that you painted my manhood."
Yeah.
And then as he walks off, she like leans into Homer and goes, "Oh, I thought I did."
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to the credits.
Yeah. Perfect way to end.
Yeah.
Wait up, guys! I gotta empty my grass bag.
Hell's Satans, huh? I'm watching you punks.
Can't handle us, pig. We're going the speed limit. Oink, oink, oink.
Yeah, pig, good.
Oh.
Don't forget, people, like, comment, subscribe. Yvonette Niage. Never Instagram. Subscribe. Again.
Your name's not LT Matt, it's Lieutenant Matt.
Lieutenant LT Matt.
Hey, you, join the podcast.
Hey. Hey, Nettie, where are you going? I don't know. Subscribe to No Kids 3 Money.
Gotta figure out how to say No Kids 3 Money backwards. Maybe I can reverse it. Figure
And
that
we
out.
never did.
And we never did.
It's like the first time I've used it this episode.
Yeah.
No, you did
Ooh.
the
Second.
Ooh, he soundboard good.
I forget that it's there. And it's too far away from me.
God forbid moving a chair that moves closer
Well,
to
I was told not to move. I was told that I have to sit in the same fucking spot.
La-di-da, Mr. French Ned.
What do you call it? A pod hole.
A spine hole.
All right. Season 11, episode 9? Like 8 or something? I don't fucking know.
Ding.
Okay, that one.
Well done.
Close.
Titled, Take My Wife, Sleaze. Synopsis reads, Homer wins a Harley-Davidson motorcycle at a 50s dancing contest and starts his own biker gang, naming it Hell's Satans. However, this attracts the real biker gang called Hell's Satans to crash at their house. However, after a while, they begin to appreciate Marge, who takes care of them and kidnaps her. However, Homer tracks them down and scuffles with Meat Hook, the leader. However, at Marge's suggestion, the gang settles down and lives normal lives.
How? You know what? He does say however a lot.
Mr. How? There was
What
only
the fuck?
There was only 2 howevers. I added the rest.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome.
Even 2 seems unnecessary.
Yeah, that's why I just ran with it.
Fucking weird.
really points a picture.
So yeah, we get the
Gets
open. It's actually yeah. So now it's been 2 episodes in a row. We've just opened with like straight,
Men.
pretty much like a. I didn't know how to respond to that. No, like just a cut straight from the TV, like and really similarly as well, like an advertisement of sorts as well, because like it's Krusty that's on TV in the season 2 episode, but he is essentially just doing a big advertisement for Mount Splashmore, and this one is just a straight ad for the 50s diner, or are they watching something beforehand?
Yeah, the Guinness World Records.
That's right.
So yeah, one of my favorite parts or just scenes, I think ever, came up naturally in conversation with someone this week, but it is when we come back, we'll give the record for the man with the least amount of faces with none.
Help me. For some reason, he's still got a voice, even though he doesn't have a mouth.
Yeah. And then the next part of it was the dog who was confused.
That's a dog who can't a dog who can't predict anything, and it just like zooms into this dog, and just like, and three other things. Three.
Oh, that was the perfect use of the spinning sort of poster gag.
Yeah,
because all it had was the number 3,
the letter 3,
as it likes to be called.
And then then it cuts to the 50s ad with Wolf Guy Jack.
Yeah. Which is a parody of Wolfman Jack.
Yes. Yeah. Who has the most terrible voice of all time.
Just gravel.
Come on down to the vendetta.
Is he the guy?
Wolf Guy Jack.
Is he the guy from like The Water Boy?
I assume that's what that guy is parodying. Okay. Yeah.
Because Henry Winkler is also in The Water Boy.
He is.
And he's also in this episode.
Yeah. Which I never knew until like now. I always knew that voice was familiar, but I just never really looked into it or pinned it down as to who it was.
Yeah. There was a really good sign.
Oh, we completely forgot to mention that John Lovitz was in the last episode.
Oh, no, we did.
I don't know if we did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
You mentioned and then you're like, oh, we'll bring it up again later, and then you never did.
I think it was John Lovitz's.
And we never did.
Mr. Lombardo, and then he barely got mentioned again.
Okay, then.
Yeah. The sign that was in the 50s style diner when they were going through panning in the ad, it said the Beatles unite.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was like, the first time we see the Beatles is in the season 2 episode, and then we get an immediate through line in the season 11 episode.
The 10-year theory strikes again.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off. All right, thank you.
I got a good quote here from
I don't even feel myself moving.
Yeah, you don't.
Just happens, apparently.
Oh, yeah. He can't feel a thing. He can feel 4 things. Yeah, the quote I was referring to was from Wolf Guy Jack after he starts like howling for the first time.
Ow!
Oh, my throat doctor says I'm not supposed to do that anymore. Throat doctor.
Yeah. Got a dedicated doctor because he howls for a living.
I have laryngitis.
So then what's the next part? Oh, that's right. Then it's like sort of panning around the diner, just showing all of these like vaguely 50s themed things. And then it's got the dude who played Dennis the Menace. Bart walks up and he's like, Dennis the Menace? It's like, yep, I was the original bad boy. I can't remember what he says the first thing he did was, but and then he says, and then there was the time that I trampled on, is it Mr. Wilson?
Yep.
Then there was a time I trampled on Mr. Wilson's garden. That was a 2-part episode.
Oh,
just the lamest shit.
Yeah.
But I think it was a nice like through line as well, because obviously like Bart's character has like remnants of that kind of thing. Like probably it's like I don't know, maybe like a very like loose explanation, but you could probably say that if Dennis the Menace didn't exist, that Bart wouldn't, like, not that Bart wouldn't exist, but wouldn't be the way he is kind of thing.
He definitely wouldn't have a slingshot.
100%. Because it's obviously, like, there's that back shot of, like, Bart looking at him and there's the slingshot.
Back shot, you say?
Yes.
Go on.
Shot from behind, like, it's sort of obviously, like, you know, panned down to Bart's height kind of thing, so you can only see the bottom half of whatever the actor who played Dennis the Menace was his body, but there's a slingshot in his back pocket.
Yeah, that's right. And the guy that originally played Dennis the Menace did voice this as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can't remember his name.
Who cares?
Yeah. Henry Winkler, John Goodman, and the rest.
Man, 3 other actors.
So my next note after skips forward a little bit, but that's fine. We can miss a little bit of context. Homer's just won the dance contest with Marge because of his blatant disregard for his
I have
wife's
never
safety.
seen such a blatant disregard for a wife's safety in my entire life.
Yeah. You're the winner of the brand new motorcycle. So then he gets it, takes it home, and he's just going,
It's too many things that you. Hang on, I need to jump in because there's the first scene where he's like, oh, he's like so proud and he looks up and everyone's like trying to go, get away from it, like screams at everybody.
Yeah.
Then Wolfman Jack gets on the microphone and says something about the 50s. He's like,
Where the 50s are never going away.
and then pans outside and says 3 days later and he's putting the board up.
Well, that didn't last long, but at least I still got you, baby.
It turns around, it's just an empty parking lot. Tumbleweed and it starts raining.
yeah. Yeah.
Continue.
Then it shoots to out the front of the Simpsons house, and Homer's on the bike, like making motorbike noises, like vroom, vroom. And then Bart's there and he says, damn, Dad, you are bending the hell out of that kickstand. You do know how to ride one of these, don't you?
Promise you won't tell.
I don't promise. I don't know how.
Bart just starts piercing himself laughing. Which is
Hysterical laughter.
why I put my like hand up when you said something about the very first scene that we spoke about in season 2 episode of like them berating Homer, but it like obviously shows the montage of them doing it throughout a long period of time, like an entire day, which is then shown again by Bart laughing at Homer, like out the front, then at dinner, then at like breakfast the next day or something like that. So it's shown that he's like been pissing himself laughing at his dad all fucking day.
And Homer's just taking it, and
Yeah.
then the first thing he says is, will you teach me? Goes back to Bart, he's still chuckling a little bit, and then says, yes.
He's like, yes. And he's like, still laughing. Then we get the weirdest fucking song I've ever heard.
Yeah, what was the band called? Like
NRBQ, because
NRBQ.
rule of threes, they come up 3 times in the show. There's 2, well, they play 3 songs, but they're actually shown playing the 3rd song. So I have no idea who the fuck they are. Have you ever heard of these guys?
This isn't even their first appearance in the show.
What?
Yeah, they've made songs for the series already in this season.
Wait, what do you mean made songs? Was that song made for this?
Their songs have been featured,
Right.
I would say.
Says they're an American rock band, but I wouldn't say that they're...
From the 60s. What the fuck?
Yeah, dude.
Bro, I've never heard of this band in my life.
They're, like, I don't know how to describe them. It's like some weird, like, kind of punky country kind of thing. Because the first song that's played is like this nice, like, acoustic song talking about like a relationship between a father and son. But the last couple of lines that are played as Homer's like shown to be like got balance on the motorcycle and is finally like riding off after a couple of like funny things where he's fucking rammed it through Flanders fence and like over revs it and it fucking flips through the air and lands through the roof of the house.
Yep.
So he's riding off, but like we had to rewind it like 3 fucking times because the lines are something like if you weren't a man and my father too, I'd buy a diamond ring and I'd marry you.
Just levels of incest.
Yeah, just
At a
there's
criminal rate.
so much going on there. It's like, that's fucked.
I did see a reel last night on Instagram about if you trace back in your family history as far back as it can go, essentially, to like sort of ancient Greek time, there's not enough people in the world not to be related somehow. And especially if you were born in the same country as someone, you would at some point have an ancestor in common. So everyone's a little bit incest according to that.
Right.
Yeah, you go back far enough. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a stretch, but okay.
Wait, we're
You
all
go-
4 through lines here.
Yeah. No, like you go all the way back. Like it's like if 2 people are from like, you know, the same country, it's like all the way down in their family tree. You're talking like hundreds and
I
hundreds
think
of
it's,
years.
you go back 5 generations,
Yeah.
you
And
will
then,
find someone.
yeah, it's like people that are like 3rd cousins or something like that. Even just like loose relations like that.
It's best not to look at, I would say.
It's best not to think about.
Time is not your friend.
So wait, what happens after that? I think it's the next, there's the next scene when he's sitting on the TV just watching that movie, and that's what inspires him to make a motorcycle gang. She all of a sudden has all of these like fantasies about.
Yeah, that's probably one of the next scenes. Yeah.
What else would be in between there? Because I don't think there's a subplot in this episode.
There's not, but I've got a quote from when Bart was at school. So Miss Kraboppel's at the window.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there is a small scene. Yes.
So it like starts off in the classroom at Miss Kraboppel near the blinds saying...
She's putting the blinds down because she's hungover.
Yeah, essentially. And then Homer comes roaring in on the bike with Bart on it and like goes through all the tables and then swings it out and hits Martin and smashes him into the wall essentially. Drops him off and obviously revving his bike all the way out.
And tells all the kids to rebel. And Skinner comes over the loudspeaker and he's like, don't do that, kids. Miller's like, I already heard it.
We already did. Now I can't get it out of my head. Douche. Thank you, Nelson.
Nelson just wails on him with a massive book.
Like a maths textbook thickness.
Yeah. You could literally kill somebody like that.
Especially if it's a blow to the back of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was all like...
Blow, you say?
Yes.
Blow, eh?
Matt loves rooting. He loves cameras. Everyone's scared.
I think that was a perfect time to cut it off.
Yeah. Get it off, you say?
Hear it?
I have it. Doesn't matter. Anyway.
Okay, then.
I'll just keep these. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so yeah, Homer sees the...
Sorry.
Homer sees the... It's some
Wait,
sort of...
do I need to sit down now because you've moved the camera?
No, you're all good. You're all good. You're all good. 100%. Look at you. I can see you. You're
okay,
fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Did you just say I'm fired? No, I said you're fine. Oh, that's much better.
Now I'm more conscious of it. So yeah, he watches like some weird, once again, probably like a 50s movie kind of thing because it's in black and white about...
yeah, there's a book to it similar that has the Socs and the Greases. I can't remember the name of the book though, but like it's one that they study a lot in high school.
It's The Outsiders?
Outsiders.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what that show is parodying. You haven't seen it, have you?
Stop saying things like you expect me to know them.
Well, I imagine it's like that or like Rebel Without a Cause as well. Is it like they're trying to parody that? It's just like those like, you know.
Okay, no, 100%. It's Rebel Without a Cause because that's what he's... Remember when he like he flies off on the motorcycle from his house and his mum's freaking out at the front or whatever, and then his dad walks out on the balcony and says he's a rebel without a cause.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice through line.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Continue.
So Homer decides from them that he needs to make a motorcycle gang and enlists just Mo initially. It says to Lenny and Carl that, you know, if you guys want to be in the gang, you got to buy motorcycles. Yeah, eventually.
And then Flanders pops his head around the fence and says, if you guys let me join your, he doesn't call it a gang, but whatever he
motorcycle club.
Motorcycle club. We could use my rumpus room as our lair. And Mo says, that guy just don't get it, do he?
Starts like putting his hands. I also find it funny that Flanders used the word lair kind of thing. Like sort of implying that it's like it's an inherently evil activity being in a motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying it is, but Flanders thinks it is, obviously, which is like shown throughout the rest of the episode or the parts that he's in.
And then it shoots to in Ned's lair.
Oh, yeah, they're playing bumper pool.
Yeah. And they're going through possible names for the gang. Obviously, Homer wants the Hell's Satans. And then I think Lenny says the Devil's Pals.
Devil's Pals. Mo cuts. I was like, nah, the Christ punches.
And then Flanders is sort of trying to chime in at every point that he could there. And he gets in after the Christ punch. He's like, no, the Christ punches. Just like tripping over how bad all these names are.
He can't fucking believe what he's hearing. And then Homer puts his foot down and he says, no, we're the Hell's Satans.
I've already made our jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They comment on like the quality of the jackets or something.
Warm wash only.
Yeah.
Tumble dry.
Then it cuts to the scene of them driving. Oh, I think they're just like sort of driving up the road initially, and like Homer's obviously on the Harley, Mo's on this piece of shit posty bike. Carl's on a rented Vespa because it says Hertz on the front, so he literally rented it. Then
Flanders on a bicycle.
Flanders is on a push bike because he rings the fucking bell, and then Lenny's on a ride-on mower. Hey guys, hold up! I gotta empty my grass bag.
Then they pull up next to Wiggum.
Fucking great. Just start oinking at him.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the dialogue between them all, but it is essentially just oink, oink, oink.
Well, I can't remember exactly. Like, it's just like what would be like a takeoff of something from the movie that Homer just watched, like an interaction between like a random cop and some dude from a biker gang. But then Homer fucks up at the end and says something about, you can take me, but you'll never defeat the Cobras. It's like, the Cobras? I thought you were the Hell Satans. Oink, oink, oink.
And then the next scene is them all at the Quickie Mart playing with the pennies against the wall, whatever fucking old school game that is. And
it's just like flipping quarters or something like that. And Homer says he's down $1,000, which is crazy because they're playing with fucking pennies and quarters.
Yeah, so they've been there for fucking hours or days by that.
Flanders is in the background just like looking around nervously the entire time. So it's obviously illegal. Well, they're gambling in the open, so it is illegal what they're doing.
And this is when Apu comes out.
With a broom.
Yeah. And it sort of just like shows the broom in frame only, just being sort of shoved in their general direction.
Well, he tells them to like fuck off, and they're like, well, "What are you gonna do about it?" And that's when he pulls out the broom, and they're like, broom!
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Homer tries to fucking shovel as many pennies as he can into his pocket before he rides off on the bike.
And Manjula then says, "You promised me no more brooms." And then, like a note that I picked up was when Apu shoos Homer from the Quickie Mart with a broom, he and Manjula adopt a stance reminiscent of Grant Wood's painting American Gothic. The title is a play on the words "Take my wife, please," associated with Henny Youngman.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of that artist?
Oh, yeah. I know the painting as well. Very, very famous painting.
It's the farmer and his wife, right?
Yeah. With the pitchfork. And
yes.
It's parodied a lot, but it's an incredible painting.
It's even in another episode of The Simpsons as well, where Bart's like cleaning the painting and then cleans
American
it too
Gothic's
much.
like underneath it.
Yeah.
But I also thought that the broom was supposed to be an allegory for a gun. Is allegory the right word?
Or the rake.
No, like just the broom itself was supposed to be symbolic of a gun in the way that Manjula says something like, when we came to America, you promised me no more brooms. And Apu says something like, well, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he essentially says something to the effect of like, we have to live to our surroundings.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I assume it would have been.
Yeah. Kind of implied. Well, that's what I got from it anyway.
Yeah.
That was a 2-part meaning.
My next note is just the Hell Satans rocking up to the Simpsons house.
Yep.
And like riding through their windows and then up the staircase into like Homer and Marge's bedroom.
Crazy amount of stability to have on a fucking road bike.
Yeah.
And like, I've never ridden one, but I have mates that have owned motorcycles and stuff like that. And to be able to like wheelie a Harley like that is absolutely fucking insane.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a cartoon, but it's still like, skillful fucking motorcycle riding. He breaks down the door and he's on top of the bed, and I can't remember. He yells,
"Where the hell's Satan's out of Bakersfield?"
Yeah, which is California, I believe.
Probably.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be a play on the Hell's Angels, who are a real motorcycle gang, and I think that's where they originated from.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is when, what's the main dude's name again? Meat Hook.
Meat Hook, yeah. Who's played by John Goodman.
Yeah. Meat Hook says to Homer that he's stolen their name and any affiliated things with their logos Homer has to eat. And Homer's got the jacket on it first. And then Meat Hook pulls out a knife, and then they're like, and then he pulls out a fork after that and then says, "No, you got to eat it." After Homer's finishing eating, and it sort of pans across everyone. They're all just waiting for him to finish it. And as soon as he does, he puts on another jacket.
Puts on like a jumper. Now you gotta eat that too. You got anything else with our name on it?
Just some caps and frisbees, sir. And some pogs.
And some pogs.
Oh, the perfect amount of shit to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rule of threes. Again.
Yes. So yeah, this is when I started questioning, like, who the fuck is that like sidekick motorcycle rider guy in the gang? And once again, it's always sort of plagued me, but it turns out to be Henry Winkler.
Who's also, the water boy, another reference.
Wait, how did we make that connection?
The 50s diner guy with the voice of the other guy that's in the water boy.
Yeah, that's
illegible.
right. Yeah. But do you reckon why did they choose Henry Winkler for this role? Obviously, he does well in it kind of thing, but did they choose him because he was Fonzie, or was there any other reason?
Oh, because they're going with parodying that 50s aesthetic thing.
Right.
It's definitely a Happy Days reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is John Goodman's character supposed to be a reference to somebody?
She's got a good voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know. Didn't say anything.
Does anybody listening or watching know, or
please help?
You aren't hearing us talk. I love that Henry Winkler's character's name is Ramrod. It's just aligns well with one of my favorite movies of all time, being Super Troopers. We're Team Ramrod.
Seiko Ramrod.
Seiko Ramrod. Seiko Ramrod. Oh, I wrote it on the paper. Oh, I forgot.
Doesn't give a fuck.
Oh.
So there's just sort of a couple of montage scenes of the bikers fucking up the Simpsons house and just trashing it.
Yeah.
Eventually Marge gets sick of it and offers to cook them breakfast.
Yeah, because they're trying to smash eggs into the toaster.
Trying to punch eggs into the toaster.
They're cutting open a box of cereal.
Literally,
fork.
sitting there like that. There's a couple of other things that happen in that period of time, but I can't remember exactly what it is.
They're
showering in the backyard.
Yeah, the motorcycles are all leaking oil throughout the house, and Marge is putting a pan under each of the leaks, and then it's the last two leaks of people drooling.
Oh yeah, they've got
the
chewing
oil.
tobacco in their mouth. Yeah.
And then she wakes Ramrod up off the ground, and then he spits on the window, and it shows the window with covered in spits.
Yeah, she asks him why. Essentially why they're degenerates, and he just says because it's easy or it's fun or something like that, and spits on the fucking window.
Just disgusting.
So yeah, once couple of other fucking scenes of them just hanging out at the house, then Homer wakes up the next morning and
Marge is gone.
They're all gone. He doesn't realize that Marge is gone at the start. He's just walking around and then it cuts to the scene of him at breakfast explaining to the kids I gave him a look, or they saw the look in my eye and fucking ran off screaming. And then as he turns his head, Bart goes, "Hey, there's a note pinned to the back of your head." Pulls the pin out, takes the note, and puts the pin back in.
That was a perfect subtle touch. And Homer doesn't flinch or realize that there's a pin coming in and out of his head.
It's so fucking good.
The note said something about thanks for letting us crash at your pad.
It was a nice note, thanks for giving us all your hospitality and stuff like that. And Homer's like, oh, they're actually nice guys. P.S. We took your old lady.
Yeah. And then it goes to them all in the bushes and Marge thinking that they're gonna essentially sexually assault her.
Yeah.
And then I think Meat Hook says, No, we don't find you sexually attractive. What? None of you?
They're all just shaking their heads. She's like, you saw my picture in the magazine, right? And they're just and they're all just
I could have sworn
sorry.
Ramrod. Sorry.
Just none of them are interested. And she's all oh okay.
Yeah, they've taken her for a legitimate reason of providing food and education to them.
Because they actually like her for that aspect. It's she's like a mother to us kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she then sort of starts to take a bit of control of the biker gang, and they start to realize maybe this lady's onto something, being clean and respectable, and explains the concept of resumes to them and starts teaching them things.
I believe it's pronounced resume. Actually, both of those are correct.
Mrs. Simpson, I killed my pencil. You broke your pencil.
I broke him.
Yeah.
That's one of my last notes, but there's also a really good gag that is...
it's before that. So after Homer's taken off to look for Marge and he pulls up at the random biker bar, which is supposed to be...
Okay.
Roadhouse?
Probably, yeah. Papa Wheelies was the name of the place.
But I think the way that it's shot, I think
Plus it's just fighting as soon as they go in.
Yes.
And that's where we see the band playing, and it's on the bass drum, the name of the band.
Which we didn't mention yet. because we brought up how weird that first song was. The second song, which is playing during that montage of the bikers being at the house, is literally just some.
Me and the boys.
It's some weird like country punk fucking song, or just like about hanging out with the boys, and the first one's about fucking your dad.
So they go through the scene of Homer trying to talk over all these people in the roadhouse situation.
Yep.
And then he's like, breaks a schooner glass or a pint glass. Hey! And they all stop and look, and then the next scene is Homer lying on the ground.
He gets smashed with a pool cue the first time.
That's right.
Wakes up outside, then goes back in and tries to like calmly get everybody's attention, and then wakes up back outside again. He's just like,
these people never learn, and goes back in.
Once again, just wakes up outside. He's just like,
It's definitely a reference to Roadhouse. Also, fucking great movie. If you've never seen it, it's so stupid, bro.
And apparently the remake got good reviews as well.
The remake's good.
I fucking hated the remake, but that's me.
Conor McGregor was like maybe the worst actor of all time.
Oh,
but
like why does he walk like he's carrying a whole fucking turd in his pants, bro?
At all times.
Times.
He's carrying a Bono around with him. So the scene that I was going to reference was Homer pulling up at the gas station, like trying to find where Marge is, which is reminiscent of the season 2 episode, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where he goes to Shelbyville to find his lost brother, and Dr. Hibbert's twin is trying to give Homer the address without telling him the address, and then ends up telling him the address because he bribes him. Anyway, the gas attendant tells Homer specific locations about where to find these biker guys. Like, yeah, I saw him come through with a blue-haired lady. They were going to camp at Crystal Lake at campsite 2.
Section 217.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I can't be of more help.
I guess I'll never find her.
Just literally exactly where they are.
Yeah.
So fucking good.
Couldn't be more specific if he tried. Homer just blatantly ignores.
But yeah, then we get that scene where Marge is like teaching them a couple of things, and they're all like sitting there like crisscross, like they're in a fucking classroom with the little pads and paper and stuff. Then I think one of them says something, it's Ramrod, he says something about like everything doesn't have to be solved with violence. You can be like, and then Marge is like, like civilized people solve their conflicts with words, and Homer just jumps out of the bushes screaming, starts kicking the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
Which feeds back into my like, weird hypothetical theory, or not theory kind of thing, but it's just that weird hypothetical question I have of how strong is Homer really? Because there's just moments throughout the show where he's shown to have amazing amounts of strength. He kicks the shit out of an entire biker gang. Then there's the Hello Laverne episode where he picks up like that rock that's 5 times as big as him and stuff. Yeah. Obviously it's a cartoon kind of thing, but nobody else is really shown to have these like comical feats of strength.
Also in the Stonecutters episode where he drags the stone of shame and then the stone of triumph.
It's like, yeah, and like, I don't know, at the start of the season 2 episode, he's like 260 pounds or something. So it does make sense that he's got a bit of like mass behind him to do these things. But in like real world physics, a lot of it doesn't work out.
I was going to say, yeah, fat doesn't equal muscle.
Considering, well, I don't know, if you look at like strong men, they're not built like bodybuilders kind of things, but they're not fat either kind of thing. Yeah. He just looks like a regular dude that can just do amazingly strong shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, kicks the shit out of most of the biker gang, and then he's like just beating on Meat Hook, and he's just standing there looking at Marge going, Marge, he's using his hands. What do we do? He's just like getting punched in the jaw and not even responding to it.
Have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he sort of like stops him and tries to calm him down, realizes he's not going to calm down, and challenges him to meet him in the circle of death. Yeah. I'm just like, I just swept the circle of death.
Yeah. This is when they start fighting with their bikes that are reminiscent of swords. So like when they're clinging them together, it is like a sword fight.
They have chains at first, then Meat Hook picks up a wrench.
Yeah.
And then Homer picks up a bike to counteract that, and then he also picks up a bike. And I feel like this is a famous scene as well, but I don't know what it's from.
So, reference to pop culture include the 1938 film The Adventures of Robin Hood. Homer's motorcycle sword fight with Meat Hook parodies the ending sword fight between Robin and Guy of Gisborne in the film.
You say that cunt's name is Guy
of Gisborne.
Oh. Guy of.
What do you call him? A guy hole. A guy's pole.
So they have that sword fight with the bikes, and Homer eventually wins and is standing over the leader, says, "Give me back my wife." He agrees and then says something about, we loved having your wife around. It'd be great. Can we keep her until the orgy in where the fuck does he?
Or something like that.
Yeah, it's like Jimber, some fucking place like that. And Marge's just like, what do you? Homer's like, what do you say, Marge? No. She said no. Oh, that's right. Marge asks, where are you guys going to go after this? And says something about, I can't remember where he says they're going to go. It's some big bikers convention or something like that. He goes, Mickey Rourke's coming. We're going to jump him. I don't know why bikers hate Mickey Rourke, but
it's a thing apparently.
It's a thing apparently.
If the Simpsons said it, it must be true.
Well, it seems like a weird joke to make unless it was true.
Yeah, it's like how Family Guy rip on people.
You bikers sure are contentious people.
Coming!
Now see here, little Miss Scene Stealer. I'm the star of the show. You're just the reason people tune in.
Krusty, there's something I have to tell you.
No, let me finish. I work like I drink, alone, or with a monkey watching me.
Krusty, I love you.
That way, if I pass out, he turns me on my side, so... You what?
I have loved you since I was a 12-year-old girl in Mineola, Long Island, watching your show.
WDQT? They had this fat, pathetic station manager.
That was my father.
Great guy.
Here we go, folks.
Yeah.
Are you ready to laugh? Neither am I.
No, let's not even make that joke this time. This was terrible.
All right, season 21, episode 10. Once Upon a Time in Springfield is its title. Synopsis reads, Krusty changes his show to get more girls to watch it by adding a princess character named Penelope. Krusty hates her at first until Princess Penelope reveals that she is Krusty's biggest fan. They fall in love and plan to get married, but, upset at the changes, tries to sabotage the wedding by bringing Krusty's former wives. Krusty feels unworthy of Penelope, so he cancels the wedding and Penelope leaves the show. Later, Krusty finds Penelope to apologize and says he has changed his mind. Meanwhile, a corporate recruiter encourages Homer, Lenny, and Carl to work for a nuclear plant in Capital City after Mr. Burns announces a moratorium on free donuts due to budget cuts. They accept the offer, but Burns persuades them to return by offering better donuts.
All right, so let's get a couple of housekeeping things from our side out of the way. There was a decent couple of through lines with the whole they made Homer's side plot completely focused on donuts, and there was quite a focus point of a joke in the second episode about Homer and donuts, but it was sort of once again completely flipped on its head.
Yeah.
First time Homer was not eating all these donuts, and then the season 21 episode he goes in and miraculously they've been taken away. And I don't know, I didn't really understand how they were going to make an entire side plot out of it, and they did to a degree, but then it just sort of snap ended out of fucking nowhere without a real conclusion to a degree. And
even that synopsis just reads like they gave up. At the end.
Well, the synopsis is wrong. So I don't know who wrote the synopsis. Did you write? You didn't write it, did you? So whoever wrote that on that side, it said the first thing it says is Krusty changes his show. It's Krusty didn't want to change his show whatsoever. It's the first scene is Krusty doing
him and Mr. Teeny are shooting
flaming arrows at each other's crotches.
Yeah, and
then he walks off stage. As he goes to walk off stage, the lights go dark, and he says to the kids that they got to give everything back that they were given during the show. Then he gets, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. There's two producers in the back hall that essentially just start berating him about how the show is going down the fucking gurgler. and they're going to fire him if he doesn't make a change.
Mm-hmm.
So he agrees to adding. Does he even know what's happening at that point in time? I can't remember whether they say like, "Oh, we're going to add a Yeah, they do. They tell him that we're going to add a female co-star, and she starts on Monday.
Who's voiced by Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
It's her second appearance in the show. She's hot. I like that.
She is. And I didn't know she could sing like that either, because, yeah, if, like, you do, like, I wouldn't recommend watching this episode, but if you do happen to be, like, strapped to a chair and have it forced upon you, you'll find out that Anne Hathaway actually has a really nice singing voice.
She was in Les Miserables.
Yeah, she did get an Oscar nomination for singing specifically.
Okay. Yeah, we were questioning that.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know. Well, obviously, I wouldn't fucking know. And then you might also be able to answer this for me, because it's later on in the episode, there's a... I don't really give a fuck about jumping around, because this was just bad in general. There's a scene where after Lisa has become infatuated with this Princess Penelope character, that there's like a history day or whatever at school, where the kids are dressing up like historical figures and then giving a presentation, and all the little girls are obviously just obsessed with princesses at that point in time. And Lisa gets up and says something about a person called Princess Anne, who's obviously a real person kind of thing. But what were the name of the movies that Anne Hathaway became like popular in?
The Princess Diaries.
That's the one. I didn't look it up, but I knew it was something like that. So there's obviously like a whole roundabout through line there of her being there, playing the princess character, then Lisa fucking
idolizing her.
Idolizing her, then by proxy of that doing a report on a character called Princess, and that's how Anne Hathaway became popular. It's just this nice big circle. So there was a couple of like cool little Easter eggs and stuff that they put in the show, but stop putting your fucking energy into Easter eggs and put your energy into the goddamn writing and jokes.
This was reminiscent of a note I took for a season 21 episode that we've covered already, but the episode has received positive reviews from critics.
Fuck off!
And in 2014, showrunner Al Jean selected it as one of 5 essential episodes in the show's history.
You can go and fuck yourself, Al.
Like, honestly.
Oh, man, what the fuck? No.
What shit are they smoking? They're like...
essential.
If they want to blow smoke up my ass, I'll be at home with a pack of cigarettes and a shot like the host. That's what they're doing. They're trying to pump the show by manipulating what people think
literally,
of it.
like, this is what we think's good.
Like,
no.
As you go to watch a show or a movie, if you're skeptical about it, you'll look at reviews and see what it's reviewed at. And usually critics' reviews are bad and the public's reviews are good, and that will tell you that it's a good movie. Whereas sometimes it's the opposite, with the critics' perception of the movie or show is really good. It's usually pretty crappy.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we see in the later episodes of The Simpsons.
I don't know how the fuck he thinks he has... Like, where the fuck does he get off saying that that is an essential episode with everything that has been made before this?
That sentence shouldn't exist.
You could... Like, this isn't even an essential episode for season 21.
Yeah. I'd even, like, if this was in season 37, I'd still be shaking my head and saying, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the crap? How come nobody called me?
It's just, it's, yeah. Literally my first note, Krusty eating a gin sandwich sums up the content of this episode. Horrendous.
Oh, like, Shutterworthy.
Yeah. So, like, to just breeze through the entirety of the story,
it sucked.
It fucking sucked. But yeah, Krusty gets this fucking side character who all the girls get upset with, and then they essentially just replace Krusty's character completely. Bart starts to get his back up about this, then goes to like Krusty Studios, sees that there's nothing in the store that's even related to him, goes out the back, and that's where he's eating a fucking gin sandwich.
All the Krusty merchandise is in the bin.
Yeah. Then he goes to confront Anne Hathaway's character, who for some reason has a like New York accent in real life, which kind of also threw me off. It's like, I don't understand why they need to add that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you could say that the voice that she did for Julia was obviously it's an English accent, but it might have been similar enough to her regular speaking voice that they were like, you need to go somewhere completely different with it.
Yeah.
So that it's not like... Because when they do stuff like that, they like hiding it, if you get what I mean. They don't like, they do give you like slight references, like with the Princess Diaries thing I mentioned earlier, and then with like Ramrod, Henry Winkler being involved in the 50s themed biker episode.
Yeah.
So they do tend to give you nice little things like that, but now I'm losing the end of my point.
Not many people go under pseudonyms, like they're credited as themselves for the most part, apart from Michael Jackson is one that I can think of off the top of my head.
But I think they like you to just sort of sit there throughout the episode and then see that in the credits and go, oh, that was her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a nicer way, because usually you're infatuated with the storyline if you're not trying to guess who it is immediately, going, why are they doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's like where the writing of the first couple of seasons is like really successful is that like you get to the end credits and it's like, oh fuck, there's like a list of like incredible voice talent,
legendary
there.
actors.
Yeah. And you don't realize it. It just blends in to the world and the writing of the show.
Exactly.
That it's seamless and it's not, oh, which celebrity have they paid this week to pump the show's ratings?
Yeah. And like guest stars in the season 2 episode far outweigh what they have in season 21 so far. Like, as we saw, Ringo Starr and John Lovitz were both in the same episode this week. Next week is Dustin Hoffman in the season 2 episode. Like, fucking massive. He would have not long done Rain Man at the point that he did the Mr. Bergstrom episode next week. It's crazy.
Yeah. So like massive fucking stars and well-respected. Not that Anne Hathaway isn't a well-respected actor, but it's one of those, it's the same with the Jonah Hill episode a couple of weeks ago. It's like they went from, like you said, like sprinkling them in the background and making them seem like they were always there.
Yeah.
As opposed to now they are like it's like this focal point of them half trying to break the fourth wall the entire time of like, yeah, here's this person and it's definitely this person. It's like you
just
don't
referencing it over and over again, and it just you're beating the audience over the head with just like reference.
I don't know how they get to it, but my next note is there's another like roundabout reference to Anne Hathaway's film career because so all right, context. Krusty goes and like confronts her and says, I can't remember what he's going in there to say, but he's essentially just going in there to yell at her. And then she says that, you know, she was his biggest fan and she's always been in love with him. And then he sort of like folds like fucking laundry straight away. And is it all right, so hang on, that's the wedding scene. There's a couple of scenes of like the show obviously being completely different. Krusty's a completely different person. It's all about love and hugs and all that kind of shit. Bart and Milhouse get pissed off at that. Then Krusty proposes to her live on air and they decide they're going to go and ruin the wedding. At the wedding, a bunch of Krusty's exes have turned up courtesy of Bart and he starts pointing them out. Says this like random woman who was like his partner, then ended up being his wife, then brings up a TV recording of the original Catwoman, Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
So once again, they make this roundabout reference to like, oh, Krusty was married to the original Catwoman and we have somebody who played Catwoman here.
And after Eartha Kitt recorded that, she died before this episode was aired.
Really?
So yeah, within the sort of year before she died.
Do you think it like could possibly be like the last thing that she ever did anything in?
Could be.
Probably.
Yeah. A quick cameo in a very poor episode, unfortunately.
Oh, terrible. That is not how you want to be remembered. Well, it's not how she will be remembered.
Some like real bangers towards like the end of her life as well, like Emperor's New Groove.
Oh yeah,
like she's fucking fantastic in that.
Wait, what?
She's the villain. She's Yzma.
What?
Yeah,
nuts.
That's mad.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, that is a like bullshit good performance.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's David Spade's main character, right? Emperor's New Groove.
Yep, David Spade, Patrick Warburton.
Yeah,
heaps good voice actors in that movie.
Oh yeah,
John Goodman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say Smark Ryan? No, good.
Smapert.
Hey, nice cock.
Well, I know you don't have anything else because your phone's dead, but my last note is no, it doesn't. Oh, and I know what it's in reference to. But anyway, we'll get around to the end of the episode, which you sort of explained in the synopsis. But so Krusty sort of realizes that this is one of the only women that he's ever really loved and he's a piece of shit. So he says, you know, the wedding's off because I don't want to hurt you. Then it cuts to this random scene of Princess Penelope's character singing in Paris. Can't remember what she's singing, but then she goes and like looks over a bridge. Turns out Krusty has decided that he wants to be with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the end credits. should I even bother explaining the rest of the fucking side plot or?
No.
Fucking pointless. Yeah,
don't
they
care.
get poached, then they don't get poached because Burns buys them good donuts, and they're like,
And then, what are Lenny and Carl and Homer? What do Lenny and Carl and Homer do that it was like, someone says no. Oh, Lenny says no. Homer says dough. And then Carl says nuts.
That, like, I think that was one of those things that just like turns the episode straight. It was really early on where Burns explains to them like there's going to be no more donuts because, you know, like we're cutting costs around here essentially. And yeah, it's supposed to be like all of their catchphrases. It's like, when does Lenny say no? And Carl has said nuts maybe like 5 times that I can count of.
Yeah.
It's like in that one scene, but it's like not anything other than that. So I was like, those are really fucking dumb and loose references. And that just made me angry. You can't say every character's announce how they feel. Right, so my last note, no it doesn't, relates to the fucking little picture that we get before it drops into the end credits, which, do you remember exactly what it says? After she jumps into the river and they're floating up the fucking river, making out on top of the guitar case, which I suppose is supposed to be maybe some form of Titanic reference. Lazy as fuck, which is like the rest of this episode has been. But it pans up into the sky and shows the moon and everything, and then we get writing that comes up. It says, "Thanks for 20 years. The best is yet to come." Fucking no, like the best is not yet to come. The best has been and fucking gone.
The best has
over
gone.
a decade ago.
Yeah. How dare they say that?
It made me so fucking angry that it's like you have the gall to say that when you release that piece of shit episode and put that at the end of it. Fuck off, man.
Mm-hmm.
The family were barely present in that whatsoever.
Yeah.
You spent more time with Krusty and Anne Hathaway on screen than you did The Simpsons, who the fucking show is named after. And you picked one of the worst fucking episodes.
But
to say like
it's essential.
It's essential.
Top 5. Top 5 of all time, actually.
Oh yeah.
I like
right up there with Lisa Goes Gaga and
exactly.
a classic.
I forgot that that's still coming.
Oh yeah. That's a real fucking piece of shit.
Isn't that just like a musical?
It's just like Lady Gaga getting glazed for fucking 25 minutes.
Which is essentially all these like celebrity cameos are now.
It's like
Is this going to get any better?
No. I think, and that particular episode is like the worst for it, where it really highlights that symptom that we were talking about before, where it's just like reference. Nothing feels organic, doesn't fit in. Like the family's barely involved. And like it's just like a celebrity comes in and fixes all of the problems of the story or that week's, plot.
Yeah.
And then just, miraculously whisked away and everything's fucking fine. Yeah. I don't know. That was terrible.
It's bad and lazy.
Yeah. That will do us.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's not anything else to say other than I hope next week's episode in season 21 is a better offering. But I don't see how it can't be, considering that.
It's a really low bar to...
But we've been wrong before.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, you can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and maybe some other social media platforms in the future. Until then, Matt'll keep staring into the camera. Come on.
Do Matt.
You're not mad at me, are you?
So we asked ourselves, who's behind the badge? Police cops? Police cops.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about that is